In the name of Allah, the most gracious, most merciful, thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us again tonight. It's Jock Brothers Live. Jock Brothers Live, and we have a very informative and exciting show for you tonight. The title of our show tonight is Dialysis and the Quality of Life. We're going to really get deep into dialysis and kidney functions, things that some of our brothers and sisters in our community are dealing with every day. But to start, we're going to start off by introducing my co-host like we do every night. My brother first, to my right or my left, he's covering down, depending on where you see him at. He's my brother, he's a mentor, he's a friend, he's a business partner, entrepreneur. Well, he's just a strong brother. Please let me introduce to you my brother and your brother, Brother Kawi Muhammad.
Praise be to Allah, brother. Thank you for that introduction. I didn't expect that. Praise be to Allah. Thank you again, Jock Nation, for tuning in to another episode of the Jock Brothers Presents Let Us Make Man. Been trying to get this particular brother on the show for a while. And he don't believe that, but I have. And now he's finally here now. And look, like Ahmed said, very important show. A lot of information we want to drop tonight. Prayerfully, it could save some lives and make a difference in your outlook on our medical conditions and history. So thank you again for taking our invitation, sir. Back to you, Ahmed.
Thank you, Brother Kawi. And a new but old brother. He wasn't here last week. If you watched our show, and sometimes he's not on the show. You know, he drops in and out.
Quiet brother.
But he's new to some and old to others. But he's my brother. He's my friend, my co-host. Oh man, a father, a soldier in the cause of truth. Let me introduce to you my brother, your brother, Brother Jackie Muhammad.
Yes, sir, Jock Nation, we back, we here, brother, we here. Praise be to Allah. Thank you, Jock Nation, for tuning in. Welcome to another show. Look, we got a hot one for you today. We need you to tune in, ask us some questions, get some questions in about this dialysis. This is very serious in our community, and we definitely want to get this out to our community, get all the information we can. We need to flood the community with information. Look, we need you to subscribe and share. We need you to share this on every platform, YouTube, Facebook. Share it, like and share it. Get it out there. Tell your people that, look, we're talking about dialysis tonight. So definitely we want to get this information out. Look, we have a lot going on. Like my brother said, we are businessmen, business partners, and we definitely want to get this information out as well. Our brothers are doing great things out here in the community, like Brother Kawi, for instance. Look, who moved that? Get the engineer together. Okay, Brother Kawi, he's a realist. He does commercial and residential real estate in Georgia. So definitely, if you have real estate needs, if you're moving to Atlanta and you're looking to lease a place, give our brother a call. He can help you out, Brother Kawi Muhammad, the realtor. Our brother who's hosting tonight, he has a lot of titles, some new titles, husband, but he's an author. And we want to salute that, our brother, even though he failed English, he wrote a book. See, that lets you know what you can do. So praise be to Allah, our brother Ahmed. No, but he's definitely an author. You want to get this book, and if you would like, read it go to different schools and read it openly to the students. Bilal and the Bullies.
Amazon.com. Bilal and the Bullies.
Amazon.com. Also, we got myself. I have a waste dumpster rental company, and if you're in the Atlanta metro area, if you need dumpsters, you have dumpsters. You need commercial and residential. We definitely can supply you. We have 20 yards, 30 yards, and 40 yards, and definitely we can get them to you in a moment's notice. So if you have any dumpster need in Atlanta, please give us a call. Thank you once again. Now, we have this initiative, And we need to get this beautiful, bold, final call newspaper into the prison. This is our theme for the year. We are fighting for Islam.
Come on, bro.
We will surely win. So we're asking you to support this final call, getting this into the jails, into the prison system, to our brothers and sisters behind that wall. You know, they need something to do. For those like myself who has visited our brothers and sisters, they don't have anything for them. There's no rehabilitation going on in the jail. This right here, the truth, is rehabilitation. So we're asking you to go to Jock Brothers viewers and support and support and support. Where's our cash out? Where's that engineer at? Okay, here we go. Okay, the engineer. All right. So we want you to support us through $ Jock Bros. $ Jock Bros. Nothing is too small, but we have to get this final call behind those prison walls. All right. So we need your support. And last but not least, we have where is that flyer? We have an event coming up.
Oh, yes, sir.
Whatever.
Get it all out the way early, huh? I see.
Yes, sir.
All right. I don't know where is it. Oh, here you go, right there.
Okay, look, we want to save our school. This is the youth sneaker ball. So for those of you in the Atlanta area, this is a sneaker ball for ages 7 to 18. This is put on by our school, Blackstone Academy, which my children attend. Very beautiful school with very beautiful teachers and administrators. So definitely for those of you who would like to come out and have your sons and daughters come out and fellowship in a righteous environment, because we'll be there. So we want you to come and fellowship with us. You know, come to the sneaker ball. Have them get a nice suit, a nice dress, but get them some J's or some Nikes or Adidas. And it's a nice event. You know, so definitely we want to support our brothers and sisters, Blackstone Academy. We want to support the school. So definitely come and support. And that is May 25th at the Art, 4:30 to 8:30 p.m. If you want your children to be in a righteous environment and have a nice event, this is it. The youth sneaker ball. Thank you. Back to you, Ahmed.
Thank you, Brother Jacqueline. All right, tonight is a special night. On our show, we deal with topics like diabetes, high blood pressure. But tonight, we're dealing with dialysis, a result from kidney failure. And we reached out to one of our specialists, one of our brothers who has joined us tonight, is going to give us a lot of information. We're going to dive a little deep. If you have any questions, please send your questions. Let me introduce this brother. I admire this brother very much. He's a hardworking soldier. He graduated from Broward Community College of Nursing. He's been a registered nurse since 1999. Currently, he's a clinic manager at Fresenius Kidney Care. He's been working at hospitals from 1996 to 2019 and involved in dialysis care and procedures since 2005. His goal is to continue to help the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan spread the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He's an author. He's trying to finish a book called The Conscience of Thought.
Consequence of Thought.
Consequence of Thought. He has an album, a reggae album. He's almost completed, and he's going to be one of our future lawyers in our community.
Come on, man.
With a strong Jock Brothers round of applause. Probably going to be a next doctor too. Our brother, your brother, Brother Desmond, student minister Desmond Muhammad.
Praise be to Allah. And happy to be here with you all. I'm honored. And firstly, thank you to all of you for your tenacity, continuing the show. You know, a lot of people start things and they stop things, but yours have been continuous. Continue to be a voice for the community. I'm here by permission of our student regional minister, Brother Abdul Sharif Muhammad, of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. He extend the greetings to all of you of Assalamu alaikum.
No, sir. Please return the greetings to our brother minister.
I certainly will. And I must add before the show starts that you all look, debonair in your suits and your ties. You know,
that's what we do. That's what we do. We was trained like that. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Praise Allah.
Oh, thank you, Brother Desmond. But I wanted to start the show first because we wanted to get into the functions of the kidney. We wanted to start there before we get into dialysis and the other treatments. We wanted to get into the functions of the kidney. Can you help us, inform us with that?
Well, maybe the size of a fist, 2 kidneys. So you have one on each side bilaterally in our body, lower back system. The kidneys does a number of things. Probably, I wouldn't say the most important, but the one that's impacts a lot is filtration of toxins. And so the kidney filtrates and excretes toxins. When we eat and protein is broken down by the liver, the kidney excretes that. Also, when muscle is broken down, and the byproduct is creatinine. Both byproducts, urea and creatinine, is a nitrogen base, can be very toxic. And so it's the kidney's job to remove and excrete those toxins. The second thing is it regulates how much water we keep in our body. And so if we drink too much water, certainly the kidneys have a feedback system that excretes some of the water through urine. Of course, we lose some water through sweating also, but mostly through urination. And that's another function of the kidney. So you could imagine if you can't urinate or void or release yourself, where does that water go? And we could talk about that later. But very detrimental if it has nowhere to go, or if the body starts distributing it in places that are unlikely, that can cause not just severe damage, but up and including death. Another thing that the kidney does, those little kidneys, is that it produces something called erythropoietin. And that particular erythropoietin chemical stimulates the body to make more red blood cells. As you know, red blood cells only last a few days, but the kidneys produces erythropoietin to stimulate the body to make more red blood cells. And so you imagine when you're in kidney failure, you could have anemia that's really not secondary to bleeding, but secondary to destruction of red blood cells that is lower than the production, as higher than the production of red blood cells. So if the kidneys is not producing that erythropoietin to stimulate the body to make more red blood cells, then what you have is massive destruction, which is natural, but you don't have massive production. And so anemia sets in, which is secondary to kidney failure. And then typically, you probably need a blood transfusion, or death may be imminent in some cases. Well, the kidney produces also calcitriol, which is a raw form of vitamin D. And that's important in the uptake of calcium from your blood into your bones. So if you can't produce that, then of course certainly your bones could become brittle, because you can eat all of the calcium rich foods you want to, but it'll remain in your blood because it needs that vitamin D to activate it to be absorbed into bone and mineral production. So those are just some of the things that the kidneys does. It does a lot for being such small organs. Very important.
Now, the show tonight, we want to deal with kidney failure. So when we're talking about kidney failure, some of the leading causes, from what I understand, are diabetes, high blood pressure, kidney disease, kidney stones, urinary tract infections. Are all of these, or are some people born with diseases, kidney diseases as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have certain things that are hereditary, and and sometimes when your parents have it, it makes you more prone to getting it. I did pediatric dialysis for a few years at Jackson Memorial, in Miami, and so I've dialyzed babies before, children, but transplant is very high with the younger population. They're more susceptible to receiving a transplant before an adult, and so yes, you can be born with certain disease processes and genes that make you more prone to having kidney failure. But the major amount of kidney failure is secondary to mostly diabetes and high blood pressure, or what we say hypertension.
Yes, sir.
And those are the slow killer, because many of us could walk around for years with diabetes without being symptomatic, but internal damage is being done, and we can walk around with high blood pressure. Many of us could be slim and trim and looking good, but blood pressure through the roof, and not know that we're walking around with hypertension. And by the time we find out, sometimes the damage is irreversible by then.
And is finding out your status, is it basically just a blood test to find out if your kidneys are functioning? What percent does your kidneys have to function before you know you're having symptoms of kidney failure?
Well, symptoms vary from person to person. It's like you can have high blood pressure and walk around and feel nothing, or you can have high blood pressure and have a massive headache. And so symptoms vary with individuals. I wish I could tell you that there was a set number, that everyone gets a headache, or everyone get blurred vision, or everyone feel tingling, in their extremities, but that's not the case. It varies from person to person. And that's why it's important to get checkups, because you can go for a long time where it appears that it's latent, but it could be, very progressive, but you're just asymptomatic at that time, meaning not having symptoms. And again, internal damage is being done, but in a progressive, chronic, long-lasting way. And sometimes when that happens over a long period of time, then again, some of the damages are, irreparable.
I noticed you said that it was like, what you use, irredeemable, or once you have kidney failure, that's it. It's no recovering from kidney failure. The only thing you could do at that point in time is what, dialysis?
Well, in each kidney, there's about a couple million nephrons, small, and what they do is they filter blood, and every minute about a liter of blood, which is 1/5 of our blood supply, passes through the renal arteries to go through a filtration process. So you could see how important the kidneys are, that so much blood is passing through to ensure proper filtration and keeping the blood clean, right? And so, there's something called acute kidney disease, meaning that something such as an infection can insult the kidneys, and we end up in an acute state where there's dialysis. There are some autoimmune diseases, which I won't get into, such as Goodpasture syndromes. Those knock the kidneys out real fast, and those are usually repairable. There's a post-pregnancy, I can't remember the name of that disease process, but when women get it, you have high liver enzymes, and sometimes that knocks the kidney out. Of course, you can have trauma that knocks your kidneys out, and so different things shocks your kidney can give you acute renal failure. And in most cases, acute meaning sudden kidney failure can be reversed or is reversible. But when it's progressive and long term, typically from diabetes and chronic high blood pressure, then sometimes, and in most cases, it's kind of tough to come back from that. Now, to your question, your filtration rate, meaning how your kidneys, those nephrons, are filtrating, creatinine and waste, because you could be making a lot of urine, but your kidneys could still be functioning subpar because you're not cleaning the blood. So because the kidneys has dual function. So you could, be, oh, well, I pee a lot, and that doesn't mean your kidneys are functioning well. It just means that you're filtrating the water well, or you're ultrafiltrating or removing liquid well, but you can still have a problem removing toxins and waste. And so when you get to about 15% of what the normal body function is, then typically that's a sign. At that point, most nephrologists would order dialysis for that patient.
So is there anything that strengthens the kidneys? We would say if I eat some carrots, it'll strengthen my eyes. Is there anything that strengthens? Is there anything that strengthens the kidneys? I never heard of that. Like, man, eat a banana for your kidneys or something. I don't know.
Well, the building block of cells is protein. We've been given that great navy bean.
Yes, sir.
And we tend to neglect it at times, but we can start with some good navy bean, as the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who got it from God in person, has prescribed for us.
Come on, man. Come on.
Because in that navy bean is everything that we need. Now, even more importantly, one of the markers showing kidney failure is when protein starts to spill in the urine.
In the urine, yes, sir.
See, and so that protein is really necessary for something called oncotic pressure, where it keeps the blood from seeping out of your veins or out of your vascular system into the tissues. Sometimes you see people with big legs and pit and edema all over their bodies because sometimes the protein is low, and so those membranes, the vascular system is semi-permeable, meaning it's supposed to keep water in, let certain things in, let certain things out, but based on the regulation. But it's not supposed to freely seep out into the tissues like that. So when the protein is low, that can happen. So it's a good diet to start with our protein, as we've been given by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It's a good diet to eat fruits, to eat vegetables, because the rejuvenation process begins with that protein molecule.
Yes,
of course, you still need your fats, but your good fats, right? Your good carbohydrates. And so the dietary law of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I think, I know it's the best. And of course, science is beginning to, bear witness.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I was gonna plug this in the beginning, but it seems like a very opportune moment to put this. For anyone who's looking to eat to live and reverse some of the symptoms like high blood pressure and diabetes, please read How to Eat to Live, Book 1 and Book 2. You can find it on www.noi.org. www.noi.org. Order your book 2, Book 1 and Book 2.
Beautiful.
Now,
go ahead, Ahmed.
Okay, I just wanted to go one more thing with the symptoms. So the amount of urination or the color, does that have anything to do with the symptoms of my kidney failing?
Well, that's more of a sign. Typically the color of your urine is relative to your hydration status. Are you hydrated? Are you dehydrated? And the more hydrated you are, the clearer the urine is. The more dark and amber the urine is, obviously, it means that we may not be hydrated. Now, hydration is not limited to the amount of water you drink, because you could drink gallons of water, but if the water just stays in your vascular system and is never transferred into the cells where it's needed for basic function, then you will still be considered dehydrated. So you could be hydrated inside of the vascular system, but dehydrated throughout the rest of the body. And what helps the water to shift, again, part of it is the protein, albumin in particular, which is the main protein in the blood that helps the water to shift. To Brother Kawi's question earlier, a hemoglobin A1C is a very good marker for diabetes. And so, when you have your regular checkup, that's a blood test, hemoglobin A1C that you can ask for, just to show where you are.
Wow.
And when I went to get an eye test, the eye doctor said that he could tell if my kidneys were functioning well from my eye test.
I'm not sure, what that lends to, but I know in diabetes, um, what happens in with regular kidney function, it helps to regulate blood pressure also. So when you have a decrease in function, uh, you know, who do you think suffer? It's like if the dollar goes down, the poorer people suffer first. Well, they've been suffering all along, right?
Right.
So when you think about the smaller blood vessels, the eyes, hmm, fingers, toes, kidneys, your male reproduction, those things with the smaller vessels are affected first. So a doctor is able to see, and look at your eyes and see the anatomy of the pictures that he takes during your exam and see if it looks normal, or if it's abnormal because of different progressive diseases.
Hmm.
Man, I mean, brother, dealing with this type of information, I guess when your kidney goes down, we need dialysis. Okay, what quality of life? How often would you need that to go through the dialysis treatment? What quality of life can you expect to have once you start dialysis? Is this a death sentence?
Wow, I think that's a very good question. Is it a death sentence? Because spirit, not by might, nor by power, but by spirit, saith the Lord. So all of us could be affected by a disease or a disease process, but sometimes our spirit is affected, and I can't tell someone else how to shoulder that burden of a diagnosis or an apparent quote unquote death sentence, as you put it, that they've received from a doctor. But what I can say is, firstly, dialysis is a process that, removes blood from the body, goes through an artificial kidney, where the blood goes down in the kidney like straw, like semi-permeable, meaning things can shift in and out. But then there is fluid on the outside that mimics the electrolytes in the body, such as potassium, calcium, everything, bicarbonate, things that regulate your pH. It's in that fluid that's outside of the straws where the blood is. And by a process of diffusion, which means going from greater concentration to lesser concentration, then that some of the toxins are removed, but also some of the potassium. Let's just say your potassium is high at a 6.5, and then the potassium in that fluid is a 2. Then naturally potassium through that 3 or 4 hour process would go from higher concentration in your blood to lower concentration in the waste or in the fluid, and then pushed out in the waste. So we can lower also potassium by the process of dialysis. So typically dialysis is about 3 days a week in kidney centers, 3 to 4 hours. Of course, you can do it at home also if you're able to cannulate or put needles in your own arm. Then you can do it for shorter periods of time, but more frequently. That's important. Now, how will you know if it's effective? Well, we would take a blood sample and draw your blood urea, nitrogen, those toxins before. And then we would do another sample after dialysis and then put it in a certain formula. And then when we look at your clearance, if you're not clearing at an optimal, then we would either lengthen the time from 3 to 3.5 hours, usually increments of 15 minutes, or get a bigger dialyzer or increase the pump speed. Just manipulating different factors, to ensure that you get the proper clearance, that you don't walk around with the toxins that of course is detrimental over a long period of time.
What
So
about
typically 3 days a week, 3 to 4 hours long. Some people as long as 5 hours.
what about the sugar in your blood? Do you balance that too when you do dialysis as well?
Well, it can to some degree, because in that concentrate that is helping to wash the blood, is in novice terms, there is dextrose, which is a sugar, and that dextrose concentration I think is about 90. So if your sugar is maybe 150, then certainly during dialysis it can regulate it. But again, that's 3 out of 24 hours. There's 21 more hours. So most of your sugar will be regulated by your dietary content. And eat carbohydrates, of course. Try not to ingest or consume, those kind of carbohydrates. Concentrated sweets.
Yes, sir.
Most things that are in packages. Typically, if you can open it, from anything that's plastic, typically is not good, for us.
Yes, sir. So then, okay, so we're going 3 times a week, maybe 3, 4, 5 hours a day. All right, during those other days, what's going on in your body now that your kids? So what's going on?
Good question.
Good question. So under normal circumstances, my dear brother, you would ingest liquids, and then your kidneys would regulate and filtrate that blood again about 1 liter per minute. And then there's markers and sensors in your body that says, hey, enough, let's get rid of some of the fluid. Why? As volume increases, like when you're blowing up a balloon, pressure increases. That's important.
Yes, sir.
Right? As volume increases, pressure increases. So as we drink more, and in particular, as we consume more salts, typically water follows salt and sugar. So many of us have what is considered water weight. That's why some people can do like a cabbage soup diet and lose 14, 15 pounds in a week, because it's a process where you just drop water, right?
Yes, sir.
That's more water weight. So under normal conditions, we would filtrate and get rid of that fluid. So if you have kidney failure, then the body has to decide, what am I going to do with that fluid? Well, Allah is so wise in his makeup of the body that most times the body distributes that excess water, equally throughout the body. So you might have general, what we call edema or excess fluid, where you can't even really see it. It's in the hips, it's in the gut, it's in the arms. Sometimes it'll push it straight to the legs, where you can actually press it and it remain indented because it's in the periphery, right? It's in the legs. That's a good marker. Sometimes I can look at someone's jugular vein and look at how bulging that vein is. It's called jugular vein distension. And I could tell that, you could see it right there. There we go. That internal jugular vein, that external jugular vein is bulging because of excess fluid, and it's backing up because of the difficulty of the heart to, pump the rest of that fluid throughout the body. And so, unfortunately, sometimes the body distributes that water into the lungs, where you get what is considered an infiltrate. And once that those lungs become infiltrated, then of course it impairs the ability to breathe. Once breathing, slows down, and then your oxygen saturation also slows down. Once that slows down, you're really grasping for air. You have labored breathing, and if there's no intervention with oxygen and sometimes intubation, then death is imminent if you're not careful. So that's some of the difficulties with being on dialysis. And how do we know how much fluid to remove? Well, if you leave at 90 kilograms and you come back at 93, we know that's 3 kilograms over from the time that you left. Each kilogram equals 1 liter. 1 liter, the weight of 1 liter of fluid is actually 1 kilogram. As again, God's creation, right? So by weighing us in kilogram, we able to tell how much fluid to remove. Now, at that point, if the patient is cramping severely, because as you lose fluid, just like playing basketball, you can cramp. As you lose fluid, you also lose salts, right? If you're losing fluid too fast and the body's unable to shift the fluids from your cells, outside your cells, back into the intravascular space, your veins, your arteries, then that shifting, the body can't keep up with that demand, and oftentimes severe cramping goes on. When the patient cramps like that, we know, hey, slow that thing down just a little bit. It's like playing 10 games of basketball, right? And you're shifting a lot of fluids, losing a lot of sweat, and then that cramping goes on. And also the breakdown of muscle, the byproduct, of course, lactic acid causes serious cramping. So, how that fluid is distributed is very, very important. And so, some people make a lot of urine, but most dialysis patients, only make very scant urine. So the body has to walk around with that extra weight. Why is that such an important question that you ask? Because the more fluid that you walk around with, what do you think you're doing to the heart at that point?
Pressure on the heart.
Overworking that heart, right? Right. And so after a while, the heart and the organs of the body is made to, in an emergent state, compensate. In essence, you're walking on a treadmill, you are beating about 60, beats per minute. And, as you put that treadmill a little faster, then you see your heart rate increasing, right? 60 to 72 to 85, right? Kyle, we've been walking on that treadmill to 105, to 120, to 130, because the body is compensating. The body was not made and designed to compensate forever. Compensatory mechanism is for emergent situation and exercising. If you keep it over a long protracted period of time, then that's overcompensation. After a while, the heart may lose its elasticity. And then what we call the ejection fraction in the heart may get real soft. And then if you can't pump the blood with, the vigor, with the strength that the heart used to pump, then you can end up with congestive heart failure. And that's a whole nother subject at a whole nother time. And that's a whole lot of suffering if your diet is not disciplined.
And you got my kidneys hurting right now. Kill my kidneys, man.
This is a painful show to listen to. I'm telling you.
I mean, it's good. I'm glad you're bringing it like you're bringing it, Brother Desmond, because we can end up taking our kidneys for granted and not really know the true value and what can happen. But go ahead, man.
Yeah, I wanted to see. I was hoping you went into a little more on the different, what I was learning about the different types of dialysis treatments, the overnight at the facility, or you can do it at your home, or you can do it, as he was saying, as he stated a little earlier, different times of the day.
Okay. First of all, there's hemodialysis, right, which suggests blood. Hemo suggesting blood, which means that either you're going to have a catheter placed in your internal jugular, or subclavian. I think you have one of the portraits, a vascular surgeon. That's the one in your arm, but I think you had a photo. There we go. So as you can see, the first one you had, there we go. That shows all three. So if you look at your up on the right chest, left, you can clearly see that's a catheter is tunneled under the skin, and it goes into either the internal jugular or the subclavian vein and down into that junction of the heart. Blood is pulled from there out through the machine with a pump, through the dialyzer, cleansed, and then back in to the patient's body. Of course, we check their blood pressures every 15 minutes, or if we see that there's a drop in blood pressure. If a patient came in at 150 over 80, and in 15 minutes they dropped to 120, I know that's a 30-point drop in 30 minutes. I have to really, keep a close eye on that patient and maybe take it more frequently. But most people blood pressure drop in increments, but there's sometimes blood pressures drop real fast, and the patient can become very symptomatic, a change in mental status, and we have to put them in Trendelenburg, give them fluid, and do what we can, external rubs to get them back to where they were. So hemodialysis, of course, you can clearly see that catheter in the neck. That's a temporary. The preferred choice is the one that you see in the arm, where an artery is taken and is tied to a vein by a vascular surgeon. Because the artery is under higher pressure, that's systolic part of your heart, then what it does is that it matures the vein, or it in novice term blows that vein up a little more, right? And that vein becomes bigger than it's supposed to be. And we can use needles and place them inside of the veins, and of course immobilize those needles, and we can pull blood through there and push it back through what they call a fistula, or they even have synthetic grafts if patients' arteries and veins are too small. to mature. So that artery, that high pressure, matures that vein that they tie it to. And then, of course, we can't put needles in the artery because it's under such high pressure. Blood will be all over the roof, right? So we got to go through that vein to do dialysis. The one on your lower right.
Okay, hold on, D. Hold on 1 second.
A lot of information, huh?
No, yeah, I mean it is, but it's good. What is the patient doing while you're doing this? Is he asleep? Is he?
Well, some of them are watching. Some of them are watching the Jack Brothers show.
Yes, sir. So they're conscious.
Some of them watch. Yes, some of them watching movies. Some are reading. Some just sleep.
Okay. Okay.
Different people have different hobbies. Some are talking on the phone. I have a patient. As soon as she gets to the machine, she calls her brother, then she calls her sister, and it's on.
All right. And then you was on the third one.
The third one is a peritoneal dialysis. So the body uses its own peritoneum, a stomach lining, as a filter. That's a natural filtering a process. And so certain fluids are put in, measured fluid like a liter, but it has a dextrose content. It may be 2.5% dextrose or sugar. It may be 1.5% dextrose. It may be 4% dextrose. The difference in the dextrose content is the higher the content of sugar, the more fluid it's going to pull out of your body. So if you have a patient who needs a lot of fluid pulled out, then you'd use a higher dextrose, higher sugar content. Unfortunately, higher sugar content can burn over a long period of time, can burn that peritoneum, you see, or cause damage. So typically 1.5% is what they use. And so that all depends also on the compliance of the patient, because when you're on dialysis, then there has to be a degree of fluid restriction. Right? And so just like 1 meal a day is a fluid restriction.
Food and drink?
Mostly, yes. Well, we can get into the foods, but yeah, drinks and food.
Let me ask you a question, Des, in terms of the fluids, right? So you're basically saying you can't really get your blood filtered unless you go to dialysis. So
you can't.
Huh? You say again?
You can't.
Okay. What about sweating? Like, say I can't. This is my off day from dialysis, but I had a little more to drink than what I want to, and I'm a little tight, and I don't want to. I guess it's not my day to go to dialysis. I go tomorrow. Can I do something else to get the fluids out my body if I'm not urine? I guess urine is stopped. Is that something else you could do?
Urine is the main outlet, or a fluid. You can sweat, but can you sweat that amount out? No, sir. That's some you'd have to be in a sauna for how long and exercise for how long and then shifting the fluids for how long, and that in itself can become dangerous. So when you're on dialysis, it's just a tough position to be in. You have to restrict your fluid because the more you drink, the more you jeopardize not just your heart but everything else.
Wow. So I mean, I just want to get this straight. So you actually, once your kidneys fail, urination stop. That's it.
It does. Well, it varies from person to person. There's still some people who make a lot of urine, but you remember that's only one function of the kidney. Right, which is the regulation of fluid. You still have the filtering of toxins. You still have erythropoietin, the making and stimulating of red blood cells. So all those other things are suppressed or non-existent.
We got the questions coming in back now.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna see if you could double down on two of these questions. One was how long would you recommend a person to keep a CVC? And another one is it necessary for every dialysis patient to receive a catheter?
Well, that's a good question. Well, it's recommended. CVC is a central venous catheter, that the one I told you about, the tunnel, and it goes into your internal jugular subclavian vein. The problem with CVCs is that you're prone to infection, and it sits right at the junction of the main artery of the heart. So when there's an infection, you got to imagine that infection can be also in the heart. So typically, if an infection is suspected, they usually pull that line out, give some antibiotics, and then give it a 48-hour rest, and then put a new line in. If the infection pervades the body, and then it gets on the valves of the heart, and you're talking open heart surgery.
Wow.
Right? And or if you get an infection and it becomes systemic in the blood, then there's something else that's called sepsis, that a cascade of things happen, and death may be imminent at that time too. So those are risks. Yes, that's rolling the dice, right? There's some people who keep a CVC catheter for a long time and nothing happens, but there are others, I can tell you, I've seen their last breath. So I don't recommend keeping it long because of the chances of infection. And at some point in the show, if you can come back to diet, Brother Jackie, I'll go into that a little bit, because that's deadly, right? Things that would be considered normal diet or good for you with a dialysis patient, man, you're encroaching death if you eat certain things in abundance.
Yes, sir. Did you ask? What about that last question, Brother Ahmed? Which one was it? Is it necessary for every dialysis patient to receive a catheter? Is that?
Yeah.
Yes, it's necessary because part of the process of dialysis is removing the blood from your body, passing it through that artificial kidney or filter, and then back into your body. Or if you elect to have peritoneal dialysis, then they'll place a catheter in your abdomen, and then you can, put that fluid in, let it dwell for an hour, 2 hours, and then release it, and then it pulls some fluid out with it. That's another way. But even that, you have to have a good sterile technique, good hand washing technique, because you're prone to getting peritonitis at that point, which also can be deadly.
Yeah, you
the sterility is still. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying you using a lot of big words, brother. Yes, sir.
Well, let's break it down in novice terms, right? But okay, so hand washing is necessary. Hand washing, universal precautions, because because you transfer germs by your hands, and if those germs get into the peritoneum, into the stomach lining, if you swab your hands and put it under the microscope, you're gonna find a lot of germs. You look under the microscope, you're gonna be like, my God, that's on my hands. I ain't kissing no more hands.
We don't even shake hands no more. We fist bump around here. We get agreement.
So Kyle, when you get married, I still want to see you kiss those hands. Okay, don't disregard this show. Okay.
If you wanted to go back to the diet, we can, but we got a few minutes because I wanted to jump into transplants. So, did you want to say a little more about the diet?
Well, the diet, one of the major electrolytes of the heart is potassium and calcium that helps the heart to beat, to function. But when potassium is too high, then the normal rhythm or dancing of the heart is, that thing that you see on television. We can tell where it's originating, the electricity. We can tell how fast it is. We can tell what the size is supposed to be. We can tell if the electricity is being conducted in the right state. Potassium causes your heart to dance different. High potassium. They call them arrhythmias or dysrhythmias. Now, if you get a certain dysrhythmia, such as ventricular tachycardia, which means the ventricular part of the heart, the lower part, is beaten at such a high rate, the heart could never rebound and get it to regulate, the way it's supposed to regulate. That's a deadly dysrhythmia. And typically with VTAC, sometimes you can get 20 beats and it stops. But if it's continuous and there's not intervention, and then you go into VFib and then they don't, where it's fibrillating now so fast and you don't get shocked, then death is imminent. So, so bananas is good for you now, but as a dialysis patient, no. Potatoes are, okay now, but potatoes have a lot of potassium. When you're on dialysis, red potatoes, maybe soak them a little bit, no. you may love orange juice, but a lot of potassium when you're on dialysis, a no. You see, so a lot of things that normally right now is a good part of your diet, well, on dialysis, a little different. Rich in potassium, rich in phosphorus, rich in things that causes hell for a dialysis patient and causes really calcification sometimes of different organs, which means the hardening of organs because calcium is too high, phosphorus is too high, and it's just not a good scenario. So dietary regimen is different than when you're not on dialysis as opposed to when you're on dialysis.
Yes, sir. Now, you mentioned headaches earlier. Is that a symptom of something going on with your kidneys, or was that you mentioned a headache earlier? I really wish I would have said something then. Maybe it was in the context, but
well, headaches is symptomatic of a lot of different things, right? If you're having domestic problems, you can have a headache.
Absolutely. You have a light bill headache. You have a water bill headache. School tuition headache. Yeah, absolutely.
Just a little less. Right? But when you typically high blood pressure, real high blood pressure, secondary, one of the symptoms, is a headache. And so sometimes when you're having headaches and recurring headaches, then you have to get a checkup. Something could be going on. It could be secondary to hypertension. It could be secondary to a blockage somewhere. It could be secondary to a stroke. It's so many things. And so that's why, in the emergency room, you say, well, why are they doing 20 tests?
Yes, sir.
Well, they do 20 tests because those are diagnostic tests that narrows down. Okay, it ain't that. Most likely, it ain't that. Okay, we did this test. Most likely, it ain't that. And so we're narrowing it down. Why? Because if you diagnose right, you can treat right.
Yes, sir.
Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's why so much diagnostic test and blood test and different doctors coming in to see you, because we're trying to narrow down the diagnosis so we can pinpoint what's wrong, so we can begin to treat. Because remember, things happen. It doesn't mean that something is wrong there. It means that it could be 3 things down the line.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? There's trauma here. You end up with diabetes. You end up with kidney failure. You end up with this. So it's, primary, secondary, tertiary. What's the cause? The cause may be multifactorial. It's not necessarily one thing. And so that's why How to Eat to Live, again, we can't mention that book enough. It's so important.
Absolutely.
Now, what was segueing me into this next part of one of our guests asked a question: Is kidney disease reversible? So, at what point does the kidney fail to the point where it's time to get a transplant?
Well, good question. Doctors and pathologists can do a biopsy, right? Where they take make a very small incision and get a small piece of that tissue and examine it under a microscope, and see certain formations and what's happening, and they can tell from the normal anatomy and physiology of that biopsy where you are. There's a creatinine clearance test that we can give, where you urinate for 24 hours in a jug, right? Keep it on ice, then you bring it in. We send it to the laboratory along with your blood test, and we can tell what your kidneys are doing. Typically, the way the kidneys filtrate, your creatinine clearance and your urea clearance, which are, again, both byproducts, right? One of muscle breakdown, one of dietary breakdown. It has a ratio of 10 to 1. So typically your creatinine is about 0.1, 0.3 to 1.0, 1.2. And then your bun is usually 10 to 20. So when that ratio begins to look different based on that urine that we send in and blood, then you have to take a deeper look if the ratios are not what it's supposed to be. But when your function reaches about 15%, then it's dialysis is imminent.
Yeah. And then once you go into dialysis, that kidney is time to remove it, or we just
not necessarily. Not necessarily. It's sometimes it is reversible, but again, that biopsy will tell a lot. And then if once I get a new patient on dialysis, one of the things that I do is I put for a creatinine test every Monday, every Tuesday, the first day of dialysis. Because typically dialysis is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. But Friday to Monday is a longer period. So if I do a creatinine test every Monday, then over the next 4 Mondays, I can see, is there a trend down? Like I have one patient now, creatinine is about 2. And there's a trend down. Hey, we just reduced him to 2 days a week. If it trends down some more, then he may not need dialysis anymore. Obviously, it's an acute kidney failure. So in some cases, yes, it is reversible, but in many cases, it's not. And then transplant is imminent, or dialysis is also a necessary, paramount at that point.
Do you know what the patient was doing in order to make it reversible? Like, do they tell you anything? Like, I'm doing this, doc, or I'm doing that? No.
No, nothing like that. I mean, the main thing is, I mean, everyone is trying to remain hydrated. Everyone is trying to eat right. Everyone is trying to think right. You remember what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said about stress? He defined stress as default in duty, whether malicious or inadvertent. The effects are the same.
Yes, sir.
So whether you mean to do something or you didn't do it consciously, or relative to or secondary to ignorance, the effects, the damage is the same. So it's not necessarily first-degree murder, but it's involuntary manslaughter. Well, I didn't mean to kill him, but the person is still dead. Right. The effects are the same.
Yes, sir.
And so that's why we say get knowledge, but with knowledge get understanding.
So I'm looking at my my test result. So you want that?
I want you to get all paranoid now, brother.
hey, I'm on it now, brother. Listen, the more we talk about health, brother. So you want that creatinine low in the 1.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, we want to keep going down. we want to keep that going down. I need these kidneys. I need both of them. Okay, yes, sir.
So you pulled up your results, huh?
I'm putting it up, brother. Every term you use, and I'm looking. Okay, well,
yes, sir. I'm not mad at you, man.
Yes,
I mean, I'm enjoying this show to begin with because I think that it's pertinent that we get information out. So health for the Black community and, of course, the entire community, but firstly the Black community, because of our food deserts, it's very paramount. I believe the salient point, the most pronounced point should be preventive, not going to a doctor to try to cure. Right. And so that's why we have to get the information out. That's why we have to get the final call out. So we have to get How to Eat to Live out, promote, NOI.org, promote Final Call, that store, because the more information people have and the more of the comprehensive understanding they have, more patience they can have with the process, with themselves, and live in a higher quality of life.
Okay. Praise be to Allah. Oh, well, we had an hour mark at this point. Already. But before we get into our closing remarks, one of the guests asked, was there any particular reason why you made dialysis an important subject for your study?
I was tricked into dialysis. I used to work after patients had open heart, and then they stayed in ICU for like 1 or 2 days. After they started walking, they would come to a step down unit, and we would have 4 of those patients in step down post open heart, and that was my primary job at first. And then I met a sister who said, "Oh, Desmond, I used to do dialysis, and I'm gonna be doing dialysis again, and I want you to come over and learn dialysis." And I said, "Man, she's crazy." And then I took a travel assignment to West Palm Beach in a hospital, and guess who I ran into? The same sister. And she was like, "Can't get away. You got to come do dialysis." And so, I took the pay cut, and because I was making more money, and I learned dialysis, and I found my niche, and that's how I got into dialysis. But it wasn't my first choice.
Praise
Neither was nursing. Neither was nursing. My mother encouraged me to be a nurse. I probably would have been a mathematician.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So at this point of the show, we have our closing remarks. So, Brother Desmond, you could.
Hold on, brother Dad. Hold on, brother Ahmed. One last question. Fasting. Are we familiar with anything that goes on with the kidney during the 3-day fast, or do we have any information what the fast does in the kidney, in that area?
Well, one of the things that fasting does is that it slows everything down, right? We tend to overwork the digestive system. We tend to overwork the kidney by eating 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day. So when we're fasting, right, one of the things that it does is it doesn't need to be at such a high functionable rate again. So, so certain things are resting. It's still functioning, but not in an overcompensatory way. Trying to make up, trying to always catch up, trying to always, man, there's more toxins. We got to get. Remember, the way the body is designed for survival first. So even when we do things that are detrimental, the body's going to try to compensate initially. And when it can no longer compensate, then of course, the process of deterioration settles in. So fasting is good because fasting, reduces certain levels in your blood. Fasting reduces stress. Stress suppresses the immune system. With stress, certain sugars are pumped into your blood, certain corticosteroids. Fasting heightens spirituality and the thought process. And so we function on such a high level, not just spiritually, but physiologically. The body's functioning at an optimum high level when we fast. So fasting is good and has been proven good for the body. And of course, there are many articles that you can Google that goes into it. And they stole pages and footprints from the Messenger, as the book of, the 20th Surah of the Holy Quran, Taha, mentions. And that's called intermittent fasting. That's footprints from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yeah.
We're not going to let you get away with that.
Intermittent fasting. Yeah. Whatever. Okay, yes, sir. Well, thank you, brother. Go ahead, brother.
But I've enjoyed myself. Reverend Kawi seems to be frozen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, brother Desmond, please, with your closing remarks.
My closing remarks would have to come from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. That's where I feel most comfortable. I'm a nurse, but I'm a student of his first. He said nothing supersedes the sanctity of human life. Nothing supersedes the sacredness of human life. And so no gift, no tangible, no wealth is better than life itself. And so we become enamored with wealth and with the acquisition of things. We should be more enamored with spiritual health, physical health, social health, marital health, our community health. Those things are more important and than the acquisition. It doesn't mean that this is a vow for poverty, right? Because the scripture says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God," and big houses like Brother Jackie have will be added onto you.
The bills too. The bills will be added on to you.
So I would say, brother, brother Ahmed, nothing supersedes the quantity, the sacredness and the sanctity of human life. Let's be more conscious and deliberative about our life and our health. And thank you all for inviting me. Thank you to Brother Ahmed, Brother Jackie, Brother Kawi. Thank you to Brother Abdul Sharif Muhammad for allowing me. And of course, man, much thanks to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for putting me on a study course.
Yes. Okay. Brother Kawi. He's frozen.
He's frozen.
You
He's saving his kidneys. He's slowing it
you know,
down.
dialysis over there. Go ahead. Go ahead, Kawi.
Oh, now you're on mute. We can't hear you. All right, it's on you, brother Jackie. Go ahead.
He's still talking.
We can't hear him.
Oh.
Can you hear him?
No, I can't hear him, brother.
Okay.
Well, praise be to Allah, man, brother Desmond. Thank you for accepting the invitation, bro. Very good information. I mean, do you feel like you got everything out? Maybe it's a lot of information you have.
Can't get it out in one session.
Because that was a lot.
There's over 500 known components in the body. Known components. So just imagine this magnificent body. It's unimaginable.
Yeah, definitely, brother. We'll see you again soon, man, because that was a lot of information. I never knew what took place during dialysis. I don't know anyone. I can't think of anyone I know on dialysis at the moment, but definitely much needed conversation. Preventive maintenance is the key, and because the kidneys, once they shut, so they both shut down at the same time, or is it one first?
Well, once there's damage because of long duration of chronic progressive hypertension or diabetes, then it does damage to both. It's not going to select the left kidney and say, I'm going to damage unilaterally this kidney. It's bilaterally, both kidneys. Wow. But if you get trauma to one kidney, you can still live with the other kidney, and that's why people donate kidneys to each other. You can live a perfectly healthy life with one kidney, but that's typically from trauma. But if it's long term and chronic, meaning over a long period of time, then typically both kidneys sustain bilaterally the same same damage.
Man, bro, that's so much that we gotta learn. So thank you, brother Desmond, for coming on. Definitely would love to talk to you again and go in detail, but definitely good information. Jock Nation, look, we preventive maintenance. We are fighting for Islam. We are fighting for obedience to God, and we will sure win. So definitely God has brought us preventive maintenance where we can have a prolonged life. And as you see, our brother tells you what happens when we disobey. So definitely let's get on our deen, Jock Nation.
Max, one thing in your mind.
No, go ahead.
When a patient goes against doctor's orders or clinician orders, it's called going against medical advice. And so I'd like to say to the whole world, don't go against spiritual advice.
Absolutely.
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the mouthpiece of God. If just like you try to obey a doctor, this is the mouthpiece of God, you better tune into the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and get what Allah has for us, because time dictates the agenda.
So you also know about transplants and the recovery process and different things of that nature as well, right?
Yes.
Definitely. We'll see you again, brother D. So thank you. That's all I got, man. Thank you, brother Desmond.
Yeah, brother Desmond, we have to have you back. That was even when I think about, when someone tells me that they're on dialysis, my mind just goes one place, and I've never really researched it, but my mind just goes one place, just to think that I know that they go to the center to get, but my mind just automatically goes one place, and I kind of just shun it.
Right.
But now seeing all the different types of dialysis, and the more we study it as a family and get this information, even if we don't have it, and our family members and friends have to deal with dialysis, we should know how to take care of them. We should know how to show compassion and empathy for them.
Absolutely.
I think that's a part of it. And I've learned a lot over the last week studying dialysis, and definitely, brother, we can have you back and teach us more, and our audience as well. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to also mention How to Live, that everyone should purchase this book.
Mhm.
I had NOI.org on there. www.noi.org. You can purchase the book. You can also order The Final Call and get information on how to live a quality life, how to reverse hypertension, how to reverse diabetes, and like the brother just said, that kidney failure is reversible. This is guaranteed. This book is guaranteed if you follow the process. If you follow the process. www.noi.org. How Do to Live 1 and Book 2.
Yes, sir.
That's it.
All right.
Brother
Thank you.
Denver, we'll see you again for part 2. And we
Yes,
thank
sir.
our listening audience for coming on. But Jackie, you can carry us out.